Hey guys, it's Avenger. Welcome back to the channel. And yes, we're back in FS 2020. Later, 2024. But this is Just Flight's Avro Lancaster. This has been widely anticipated. And I've been very keen to get my hands on this. Now, reportedly, this got tested by the virtual Battle of Britain Memorial flight. So in terms of being a Lancaster, it should be pretty on point. Of course, how much of that advice gets taken up by developers is another matter. But it was tested by them. Now, the Lancaster itself, of course, is, to you Americans, our version of the B-17. Only better. Much, much better. 7,500 of these things were built during the Second World War. And it was a design that got developed from the Avro Lancaster, which was shorter winged and only had 2 engines. And it had 3 tailplanes. It was a weird aircraft, but it was designed to meet an air military specification P-1336 for a medium bomber for worldwide use. Could carry a torpedo, could make dive bombing attacks, yeah, because that was still considered to be a really useful thing for bigger aircraft like the Dorniers at the start of the war. Now, the designer, Roy Chadwick, he worked up the version of the Manchester. In fact, they even looked at the Bristol Hercules engines, radials. Eventually, the Lancaster got 4 Merlins and the familiar tail design we see now. And a monster and a legend was born. Now, in terms of the Lancaster specifications, she could fly at around 282 miles an hour, which is about 245 knots, carrying 63,000 pounds. That's its total weight, sorry, at 13,000 feet or 4,000 meters of altitude. So a very hefty aircraft. Now, in terms of her cruise speed, it's about 170 knots or 200 miles an hour. Range was around 2,200 nautical miles. Yes, that much. 2,500 miles. Service ceiling is up to 21,000 feet, and her armaments are 2 303-inch machine guns in the nose, 2 in the top, 4 303s in the tail, and the very early designs actually had 2 Brownings and a ventral turret aimed from within the aircraft with a periscope. Now, her maximum normal bomb load, and you Americans in the B-17, I was going to give you a bit of a number here just to make sure you see where we're coming from with this. The B-17's maximum payload on a G model, you know, the most popular, most favourite, is about 8,000 pounds. Long-range missions could do about, this is an 800-mile trip, round trip, 4,500 pounds. Under 400, 8,000. The Lancaster could do 18,000 pounds on a normal bomb load. For a specialist bomb load, you could do 22,000 pounds. Yeah, crazy. A very, very, very potent aircraft by all regards. Like we said, powered by 4 Merlin V12 engines putting out 1,200 horsepower each with big 3-blade props. Just Flight put this one out. They've had some hits and misses. It's $22.99 on Just Flight's website. Their own price is showing it as $34 on their own website. So what do we actually get with this? We get a bunch of different liveries, as you can see here. High detail model, textures, exteriors, always say they're high fidelity, always debatable. Animated crew, we have all 3 turrets modelled with their interiors too. Unique configuration panels, each station to control camera views and crew selection. 7-man crew internally and externally. An immersive diorama with the crew standing outside. Fuel Bowser and one of the Matadors. Bomb trolleys. The engines have their covers removable. Now, she has a sound pack by Echo 19, and I can tell you already it is rather juicy. We have a whole separate Dambusters model with the upkeep bomb and twin height-defining spotlights, and a HS2 version with the HS2 radome and internals. So I'll look at some of these in a minute. But let's get this thing on the ground, let's go take a look around, and it's back to the outdoor flying camera once I actually open up the bomb bay for you so you can see this. In fact, we'll pop a few of the little extras out whilst we do it just now. Some of these controlled down here, so ground power's there. Refueling the truck. Rearming, and let's get the engine covers off, shall we? Now, see if I remember how to actually slow down my... There we go, camera in 2020. Spin a minute. Aeroplane Heaven does sometimes lack on the textures. The modelling is usually decent. And what I can tell you straight off is this modelling doesn't look fantastic at the back. That looks like a pulled poly that's just kind of snapped in there, if you can see what I mean. And the tail surfaces look very flat and kind of flaccidly modelled. That's just a straight cut there. That's not particularly fantastic. Okay, I'm being a little bit excessive, getting super duper close. Once again, blurry chipping versus crisp other details. So that always seems like an odd one, why the chipping is a blurry resolutioned image. And here's the diorama with the crew outside, by the way, which I like having that as a thing you can see. So you could get a, you know, sunrise photo or sunset photo as the crew get ready to go out for their mission. Very cool. One thing I truly hate is this, where the paint's been removed by the engine exhaust heat. It just looks like it's sprayed mud everywhere. In fact, it looks like that in the engine cowling too. Wear and tear is something Aeroplane Heaven's been doing, and I'm not a big fan of how they do their wear and tear. It's not diffuse enough, it's not subtle enough, it's usually way too excessively visible. The other textures are medium grade, personally. Modelling is decent. There's a big bomb. Those are fun. Yeah, we put a bunch of normal ones on there. We just put a barrel in there as well to go boom on people. So there's the rest of our bombs in their racks currently. Space for the big boy at the rear. And more stuff there. In fact, I'm not sure if that's just a spare fuel tank. I don't think it is. Pretty sure it's a bomb. Probably a bomb. Matador fuel truck. We fuel the aircraft up there. And you'll notice we've got our Astrodome there for navigators to be able to tell where they are at night. Upper turret. And we'll go inside here at the back to take a quick look around. So there is not much modelled past that, which is not expecting it to. This back half is not really intended for the persons to be in it. These parts are, and we'll show you from the inside what this looks like, okay, because you can actually go into those. The forward half, though, we can. In fact, we're going to go inside now and take a look around. So back up in the cockpit here, I'll just hit my buttons to do. There we go. We can go through different workstations. I forget which one it is. I remember pressing a button somewhere and it got me to go look at things and I've forgotten how to do it. Either way, we can make this do just fine. So engineers panel down here with the various instruments. We've got our extra auxiliary fuel panels there. Various other bits and bobs. The interior of the cockpit's quite nice. Now we have here navigator's station and radio man's area. So we've got plotting tables there. We've got loads of radios, including in here. With our radio equipment. Those could be closed, otherwise you can go over the top of the bomb bay. These radios do function. That's a very early radar system there. This one does not. Now, there is an option up here, when I click this, to show the various stations, and we can basically have the crew in them. Hey, Bob. There we go. Let's pop all our chaps in there, shall we? Oopsie daisy. There we go. I remember one of the buttons on my actual flight controls taking me to the different positions, and I've forgotten what it was, because I pressed it when I was testing a minute ago, and it took me around all the various stations, and it was all lovely. But for some reason it didn't work, and I'm very confused. Ah, well. Let's go downstairs to the nose, shall we? I will say, the interior is rather faithfully recreated down here. I do like this. It gives us all the space and the options we want to see. You can pop up that there. So obviously when you actually have got your actual head position moving around like you should, you can pop up these and see the people in place. So you'll notice up here is our nose turret, and we have the full recreation. And I loved seeing this, actually. This is really well done to be included. And for the price of the aircraft, it's very detailed model. And when you're spending most of your time inside, yeah, the interior graphics and textures are good. The modelling is well done. The exterior lets it down, but has been a consistent problem with Aeroplane Heaven as well. But pretty good. Obviously, most of this stuff doesn't work. That's fair and understandable. But our lights do work in various sections. Important in something like a Lancaster, because you're flying this largely at night, so that should be something to consider. Right, so we've got various doors and windows we can pop open. Some of them are more annoying than others to actually close, because this one opens right into my face and punches me in the head, which might make flying more difficult. More there. Now, if I pop the seat down here, the engineer can join me at the front and he can work the engines for me, rather than being on the actual engine panel. But we'll pop his seat up for a minute. Excuse me, Dan, can you get out of the way? Thank you. Close all these. Let's get this thing started to fly. I'm going to fly down to Lid on the south coast, which isn't too far away, but we'll pop open the InSim checklist here. So before starting engines, crew are on board, engine covers are on. We'll do those now. So, ground power's on, refueling truck rearm, and engine covers are set. Parking brake is set, that's here. Flight controls are free and correct. The power cart is on. The battery switch is on. Fuel gauges are all checked. Alternators 1 and 2 are on. Port selectors are there. So these need to go to here, to our number 2 tanks on port and starboard. And make sure we actually have motion lotion in the tanks. We do have motion lotion in the tanks, port 1 and 2s. And starboard 1 and 2. Excellent. Now let's make sure over here primary electrical fields are on. As are our Jennies. To the checklist again. So before engine start is good to go. So engine starting. Master boost coil here to on. You could rock the whole mags with this, or you can individually click them. And you can rock them up and you can rock them down, which is useful. Mixture to full rich. Props to full rich as well. Let's crack my throttles here. Now let's make sure we also have fuel masters to open. Superchargers to off. Emergency boost coils to so they are. Okay, so throttle cracked, fuel cocks open. Propeller control full forward, magnetos on and starters to on. So engine number 3 is first. Clear prop. Ooh, that's meaty. Engine 4. Now, if I am quite correct, our correct starting order for this beast is 3, 4, 2, 1, I think. Yeah, 3, 4, 2, and finally 1. So I am right. So let's get that one down. Start number 2. I will say the start of these Merlins is juicy. Very juicy. And the external sounds not bad. They're a little quieter, but the internal sounds sound really good. I'll give it that. Okay, we are ready to rock and roll. So let's pull that cart out, shall we? And get this big old beast in the air where she needs to be. Now, so external crew toggle, we can turn them on and off. So that's having them there. Oh, that's the external crew at the back door, I should say. Yeah, sorry fellas, you can get back inside now. We're going to be out of here. So let's make sure I get my bomb bay doors pulled in, which is there. Now, we'll pull our flaps fully in, but we'll give it 1 notch for now. And we're going to start taxiing, which means racing parking brake down here. Radiator shutters are on auto. They are. No, they're on off, so we'll flip them down to automatic. Where they should be. Temps and pressure should be good. Mag test, we'll skip that for the sake of testing. Okay. Now we'll take off flaps 25 degrees, which is where we're at. Fan dabby dozy, let's do one, shall we? Now, of course, you've got the landing lamps there. We can switch that out for a regular DG, which is quite useful to have. Right, let's get this big beast moving, shall we? Look at that go. The Lancaster is a pretty, pretty bomber. The B-17's gorgeous, but the Lancaster just says something different to me. It always has, it's beautiful, and I have a personal connection to these aircraft because my grandmother built them during the war. She worked at Avro's plant in Manchester, and she helped to build the Lancasters that went out night after night, many of them never coming home. So, yeah. This aircraft is near and dear to my heart. My granny was an English version of Rosie Riveter, like so many other women at the time, doing her part for the war effort. Right, now you will find steering on the ground. You're probably going to want to use some differential throttle here. I'm keeping my port engines back and starboard engines up there to turn around. Now this is a little on the short side for us, but we'll manage just fine. Right, all 4 engines up here. And she accelerates quickly. Big beast. We'll get the tail up here as soon as we can. Full stick forward at the moment, while I keep her straight on the runway. Tails up. Ease off the controls, balance them in the centre. Little bit of straightening up there. Airspeed's coming up, and we can ease her forward. Past 100, and we'll ease her up. And she gently and gracefully climbs up into the sky. Now, I will say, Aeroplane Heaven's aircraft do have a bit of a problem. Can we see what this is? Those tyres are very shiny, and it happens to all of his aircraft. They're clearly not made by Goodyear. They're made by very Goodyear, because someone's rubbing those a lot. They're bright, shiny, and along with the weathering, it just seems like an oversight, a constant oversight, that they keep making that mistake, and it does bug me because every single aircraft has it. And I think Birdsticks, the content creator on Twitch, is going to be having a coronary, seeing as he has to normally fix them and upload fixes to flightsim.to. Right, we'll turn ourselves south here, head towards Lyd on the coast. Shouldn't be very far, 5 or so minutes. I think the Lancaster deserves to be flown for a minute rather than just do a quick circuit. So we'll get a little bit of altitude here as we keep our speed, start to gain it. I think we're heading north. That isn't the right direction. So, no, we're 180, so it's down below us. Okay. 160 should be okay. Might need to go a little bit further south, so we'll go around to 180. Forget this isn't set properly. Yeah, see we're on there. We'll hold on to 180. Click and drag. Okay, and that should be nice and easy for us. And it'll give us the opportunity to go down to the nose and have a look around whilst we're flying. So I'll straighten us out, get us trimmed. And I will try out the automatic controls. If I'm smart enough to use this. So this is basically the closest you'll get to an autopilot in Lancaster, the auto controls. Enables the bomber and pilot to make small adjustments to height and heading when on a bomb run. So turn on the controls using the master control lever, which is down here. Where are you? That's our beam stuff. Is this going to basically just hold my controls? It seems to be. Close enough. Let's go down to nose, shall we? Let's get that Bombardier's view, which is so iconic in so many bomber aircraft. Looking out the nose here, seeing all this. I've got to say, it's the classic look you expect. No view like it. The nose of a Lancaster. Whew. Up in the nose turret here. Let's have a look at the back, shall we? Excuse me, boys and girls. Excuse me, coming through. Let's get up the Astrodome here. Can I put my head up here? I can't. There's not enough room for me. That's unfortunate. Now, can I go through the cameras menu to get to those other ones that I thought existed? Oh no, it'd be... Aha! Yes. There we are. That's how to get to them. The shift commands. Oh. And now it's working as it cycles through the views. Tail turret. Navigator. And back to the cockpit. So we'll turn that mess off and we'll go back at hands-on here. There's the coast, and that should be Lyd, I think, over here. If I am quite correct. Often not very correct, so we'll go off that. Ah, we need to come a little bit to our left. That should be Lyd behind the cloud. So, I'm a little torn. Now, I've had plenty of issues with Aeroplane Heaven aircraft in the past, and I already told you what I saw at the back of the tail there. There's definitely some low quality modelling on parts of it, where the poly count is not high. Things don't look well modelled, and in places look a little bit rushed. The texturing is not my favourite again. The textures just don't seem to really be that good. I can appreciate it's not a big operation, but if you're putting this much effort into a release and you've done the work, it seems a little bit shabby to often ruin them with kind of mediocre looking weathering, which looks at home in FSX, frankly. Because that's a standard Photoshop brush that's been used to smudge this stuff. And I know so is that weathering and wear there, because that pattern on there reminds me exactly of Photoshop brushes I've used. So, and yes, another one here is a sloppy mistake, which is the sound goes A or B, you got loud or not. Whether it's not really grading. It's a tiny issue, but it is one. Now when it comes to... Am I not fully throttled? Okay, I'll put it back to 8. Should have been way too fast here, but we are cruising rather quickly. For the price, it's not bad. You get a lot to play with, a lot of features and fun, and hopefully people will make some third-party add-on liveries that are maybe slightly higher fidelity in terms of the weathering. That I'm excited for. But overall, she isn't done well, isn't done badly. I'd pay for this. This is not the same disappointment I felt with the Hurricane. That definitely felt like a letdown. The early Spitfires and the Zero weren't fantastic. The P-47 was good. The Hurricane is definitely still a disappointment to me because it's one of my favourite World War II aircraft. That alongside the Bristol Blenheim Mark IV and the Mosquito. But it's been done fairly well. Like, I would fly this aircraft and will fly this aircraft. Now, it's designed and built for 2020. It should work in 2024, which is where I will be flying it. According to some reports, the sounds were a little bit more muted in 24. I haven't proven that yet myself, so bear in mind. But it does work according to what they've reported. I'm testing this in 2020 as it's the sim it is intended for, and that feels like the most appropriate thing for me to do. There's Lid up ahead of us. We'll pop her down in a second. She's very gentle to fly and easy on the controls once you're straight and level. At low speed, she's a bit of a pig, but she's very heavy. So, this kind of behaviour, cruising along, I'm making small trim adjustments to the aircraft, I'm making tiny adjustments to the controls, I'm flying with a couple of fingers. It's very easy to fly. There's our field down there. Very easy to fly indeed. So I can imagine flying this for long missions and feeling pretty okay. Obviously, lots of fatigue. It's a heavy aircraft to fly, but if this is anything like remotely accurate in terms of its feeling on the controls, she feels pretty good. And that's our automatic control trim to adjust that. Do you want to take a seat for takeoff and landing, Dan? Thank you. All crew to landing stations, all crew to landing stations. Now there's Lid below us. Now, where is the runway? There she is. Oh, keep those up fully. The RPM I've pulled down. So I set the throttles for now. Just about 200 miles an hour. So we'll come past the airfield, we'll come around and we'll make our approach in. There she is, so we'll go past, we'll enter basically in crosswind now. Go downwind, come around and make our landing. It'll take us that time to get rid of this speed. So slowly kind of decelerating here and losing altitude. The sounds are good, I must say I like them. Maybe slightly steppy, but they are generally decent. And they have that boom and rumble, and one thing I have noticed of lately, Aeroplane Heaven used to have an old problem where their exterior sounds were fine, and the interior sounds sounded like you were putting your head inside the manifold. They were horrifically loud. The last bunch of Aeroplane Heaven aircraft, the interior sound has been muted and facile and kind of lifeless compared to the exterior sounds, and a bit quieter, but mostly just flatter. This is a lot better. In fact, I'd say the inner sounds a little bit better than the exterior sounds. Where it sounds a bit more generic on the outside than it does on the inside. Go figure. Right, so gear down. And we can see them come down on both sides, so our flight engineer would tell us. Now, this being a British aircraft, you've only got one flight yoke in this, because there's only one pilot. But you, of course, have your flight engineer as a helper. He's on the instruments, though, and the throttles sometimes. Okay. 2 notches down on flaps. A bit more power here to kind of keep ourselves at manoeuvre speed. I'm a little bit low now. I really am too low, so full power. Way too low. Made a bloody hash of this. Yeah, this is an absolute dog's dinner. Perfect. Okay, I see where I am now. Okay, bring these down and we'll turn inbound. Operating all 4 throttles is definitely a bit heftier because you're working a bit more. So for landing approach, you might move them a bit more than you might a jet. Kind of a very close base to final turn coming up now. Okay. And kind of curve her in here. Now we're looking for about 100 for our approach speed. I'm going to come a little faster because she gets very neutral on pitch when she's slow. So you'll lose a lot of pitch control when she's got slow speed. So I'm going to try and keep her a little faster. Just to give me a bit more authority. Okay, and level her out. A little bit too far off to that side. Hold her in here a bit more on the left. There we go. Little nudge more power there, just to balance us out. A bit too far of this pendulum past the centre line. Level it out here. We should be able to correct this on the ground. So we'll fly the main wheels onto the runway and then we'll decelerate. Okay, throttles are closed. Gonna get the tail wheel down before we tail wheels down. So prime brakes now. Oh, and we just lost 2 engines on our rollout. Interesting. It wasn't meant to happen, but I see. Oh, we're saving fuel, I suppose. It's going to make taxiing a pain in the backside. We'll just taxi on 1 engine then. Not that she needs 4. I'll just work on number 3. Pull us in here and put down. So, what do I think of the Aeroplane Heaven Lancaster? It's not bad, actually. It's definitely got things to improve on. It's a classic Aeroplane Heaven product in terms of what's wrong with it. Mostly textures and some quirks of behaviour. But in general, she's not bad. They've done a decent job of this, and I think the beta testers were listened to largely, but there are some silly things that have been missed, like the shiny tyres. Why is that a thing? Like, why, of all things, is that a thing? Oh, so that is the beauty of the Lancaster. And G for George, we were flying today. Not bad. Look at these things. That is shiny as heck. That is, yeah. That's had a great year. Goodbye.